once a day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side. Break on through.
Here we go.
Break on through to the other side. Yeah.
Now, Chris Duel.
Spurs win!
Spurs win!
Spurs win!
Spurs win!
Spurs win!
Spurs win!
Sorry, I get excited. These days when the Spurs win. Spurs defeat the Oklahoma City Thunder last night at the AT&T Center. 118-96. That's 2 out of 3 for the Spurs. And Meatloaf teaches us 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Some people like to quote Socrates. Some like to quote Ralph Waldo Emerson. I like to quote Meatloaf. Way to go, Spurs. We'll talk a little Spurs. This morning on this chilly part one of Freeze Mageddon 2022. If you think it's cold this morning, talk to me tomorrow morning. When it's going to be about 10 degrees colder. Chris Duel show with Shannon, Sweeney, and Jeremy KOLOK wearing his vintage Dallas Cowboys established in 1960 beanie cap. Shannon, how was your drive in this morning? How was your walk from the car to the building?
The walk was definitely the hardest part. The wind is not kind. I haven't heard of any moisture or ice on the road. I'm not sure if we're planning on getting any moisture, but I did see San Antonio. Are there schools that are either closed or delayed?
Yes.
What's going on down there? Do y'all have issues?
Well, I know for sure. There's no real issues yet. I just think it's a while because of a year ago in February when everything went shut down for real. And all the local meteorologists, I'm not sure if they're doing this in Austin. They're saying, "Hey, we want to underscore. This ain't going to be like last February." But I did notice the North Side Independent School District in San Antonio, of which I am a product. Holmes High School. Thank you very much. Stickum Huskies. I know that one's closed. I think a few others are closed. I saw. I think Joe Garcia, who joins us on the live video feed. I think he teaches, and where he teaches, students are off today, but they want the teachers to come in. So I just think it's people are just still shell shocked from last February. I really think that had a lot to do with it because it's cold, it's windy, it's bitter. I hate it, but it's not wet or snowy or anything icy or anything like that.
Now, because we are in the COVID age and, online learning is very much a thing now, are classes actually canceled or are students having to get up and go to a computer somewhere in their house and do school?
That's a great question. I think, from what I read, and I sent it because I've got a niece who has a granddaughter who is in elementary school. And the release that I saw from one district was, classes are canceled tomorrow for students and extracurricular activities. So it didn't sound like, hey, don't come to class, but jump on the Zoom, at 8:30. So I think classes canceled means classes canceled. I'm seeing a few people tell us that on the live video feed. And while I said no ice or snow today, I think tomorrow in the hill country, and in some portions of South and Central Texas, there is a good chance. I don't know what kind of a chance. I won't say a good chance. I'll say a chance. Snow tomorrow. Apparently tomorrow's going to be sub freezing. I know in San Antonio. I think Austin was going to be 32 tomorrow. So we'll see. I think same thing for Saturday morning. Daytime's going to be like 50 something, but mornings are going to be quite chilly.
I would like to have a school day canceled for myself. I'd love to just be under a blanket, fireplace on, and just video games and not have to worry about going outside. But that's not life anymore now, is it?
No. Well, and you, and I know you mentioned this recently, you and I each iHeartRadio, I think partially lessened from the pandemic. But I mean, if there's ever like crazy weather, you now and I now have broadcast equipment in our home, which, and some people already have that. I always people in radio, and we used to have many years ago, I worked on WOAI with Charlie Parker in the afternoons, and her name is Betty Davis, who did traffic, and she had it all set up at her house. And I always thought, my God, you roll out in the morning in your pajamas, you grab some coffee, you go to work in your living room. What a great gig! I still, and a lot of people, more and more people are now doing that in radio and TV. You see people on TV news doing that. I still, and you as well, Shannon. Even though they've delivered the equipment to us and installed it, we still haven't gotten that gig yet. I'd love to try that out for a while.
Yours has been installed. Mine came with directions. Okay.
Oh my
God. And I haven't like I looked at the stuff that's in there, but I haven't actively messed around with it because I don't have a compute. Like I still have my old brick computer. They haven't given me one of the new computers. They're like, yeah, 2-3 weeks. Well, that was 2-3 weeks ago. So I don't have one. So like my computer's not great for much. So I'm really hoping to avoid it. If necessary, we can always make things work. But for that reason, I haven't really messed with my nice new equipment that no one came to my house and set up for me.
See, you need to. They did that for the people in San Antonio, and it was a guy from Austin that contracted from iHeart Austin to do. So you need to talk to the powers that be in Austin. Say, hey, what am I, chopped liver over here? I'm Shannon Salty Sweeney. I demand some respect.
As one of the last people to actually receive a kit. Yeah, sure. I'm sure they'll bring somebody out. She'll figure it out. It'll be fine.
They love you there. We got a lot to talk about. As I mentioned, Shannon, the San Antonio Spurs win last night, and I know it was Oklahoma City Thunder, and I know they're supposed to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Hey,
I'll take it.
Hey, what happens at the end of the day? Do they list out all your wins and losses by who you beat?
Yes.
No, not when you look at the column. It is just numbers, and there was a number added to the win side last night. So congratulations,
thank you,
Spurs fans and Spurs team.
Yes, and that's 2 out of 3. And it's so weird. And I as you know, I do the Spurs React show, which is after the game, and the Spurs previously had gone 2 out of 10, 2 and 10. I'm sorry, they had lost 10 out of 12. So they were 2 and 10 in the previous 12. However, they had really been hit by COVID and health and safety protocols. And Pop says everybody's dealing with that. He makes no excuses. The Spurs make no excuses. But Spurs fans are so spoiled, and God love them. And I am one of you. And I know we won all those championships with Tim Duncan and company. And I know you're used to winning 50, 55, 60 games a season. And it even got to the point, Shannon, where Spurs would go to the playoffs and they had trouble filling the AT&T Center for the first round of the playoffs because Spurs fans were so spoiled. It's like, oh, man, I'm going to save my money for the Western Conference Finals and the finals. I'm not going to the first round. Spurs, and now the Spurs are going through what every team inevitably goes through. It's the circle of life, Lion King. It's natural, Simba. So Spurs fans are just freaking out. So it's nice to see them win 2 out of 3. Although coming up, some major tests. They've got the Brooklyn Nets on Friday night and the Philadelphia 76ers on Sunday night. So we will see if the Spurs can get 1 or 2 of those, which would be very, very nice.
I'm still.
By the way, one more thing.
Yeah.
Pop is single digits now. Coach Greg Popovich 9 wins away from the all-time NBA record for wins in both add them together, a regular season and postseason. I think he's already got regular season, but this will be regular and postseason combined. So he's got nine more wins. He'll do that, which I think, Shannon, I look forward to that because I think it's going to be very amusing because Pop is very, as you know, he doesn't care about these things, or if he does, he sure doesn't let on. So I'm sure after that game, there's going to be media going, "Hey, Pop, congratulations. That was great. You've got more wins than anybody in NBA coaching history. And he'll probably go, next question. Yeah, I don't pay attention to that. What else? So
Hell, I don't know.
Exactly. It'll be fun to check out.
If they said it to him like that, he'd probably be like, do you have a question? Right?
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
Pop, congratulations. You've now got a new record to add to your list of already a lot of records. Okay, do you have a question? No? Okay, moving on.
And by the way, I heard somebody down the hall at the news station say we are 2 weeks away from the Winter Olympics, 2 weeks from today, although it feels like we could have the Winter Olympics right now in Central Texas. So it feels like it. Let us introduce, and he's in again, doing a great job, and we already threw an assignment on him the second he walked in the door to get us some audio for the high five play of the day, which, by the way, you don't want to miss. We're just a few minutes away from the high five play of the day. I'll give you a slight preview. It is Cowboys related. How can there be a high five involving the Cowboys? Are you kidding me? They just lost to the 49ers. Well, you'll find out. But he is here, and if you're on the live video feed, you can see he is wearing a Dallas Cowboys established in 1960 on the patch hoodie, not a hoodie, a beanie, which is kind of like a hoodie, but it's not. He is the pride of Oklahoma State and personal chef for Mike Gundy's wife, Kristen. Jeremy KOLOK, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, Chris and Shannon. Good morning. It's just a little chilly this morning, but we made it in. And you mentioned the Winter Olympics in 2 weeks. I'm also looking at my calendar here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is your Kawhi Leonard Day in 2 weeks, or 2 weeks from yesterday, I believe?
I think 2 weeks from yesterday. It's February 2nd, which is 2/2/2022. And it's going to be a challenge it's like training for a marathon or something. I know it's coming. I'm working on it. But I got some butterflies. I don't know how I'm going to possibly do this, but I decided, as you and Shannon well know, several weeks ago, I saw the calendar that it was 2/2/2022, and Kawhi Leonard is number 2 in more ways than one. So I'm going to forgive him. I'm going to let it go, and I am never ever going to say another disparaging word about Kawhi Leonard. So I better get it all out of my system. So February 1st, I should just go nuts.
Yeah,
just like Tourette's syndrome on Kawhi Leonard for like the whole 3 hours. You'll have to be on the dump button on that day.
Since we're talking about dates, can we just acknowledge that February 22nd is going to be 2/22/22 on a Taco Tuesday?
Oh my God!
I don't know why that's just not a national holiday.
That day. That's a great.
No, see, now you're trying to push things back.
Yeah, no, and his number is 2. So February 2nd, the second month, the second day in 2022. It would, I guess I won't be alive in 2222. So that would be an even better date. Maybe I should forgive him from the grave or from the great beyond on February 2nd. 2222, 2222.
Well, and we're asking you to forgive, not forget. You don't have to forget.
Boom. There you go. Yes. And, I just don't, I don't like how it makes me feel. I hear myself, and Shannon, you and I talk about this. So many people on social media and on talk radio, sports talk, news talk, they're so negative. They're so mean. They're so sarcastic and snarky, and I don't want to be that guy. And I will admit, I have been that guy with Kawhi Leonard, and it's time to stop. Although I still have 2 weeks left, less than 2 weeks. Oh, I'm working on it.
Use them wisely.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else happened last night. I think, did Philadelphia win or lose last night? They won. Joel Embiid last night tied his career high with 50 points, but he scored those 50 points in just 27 minutes as the Philadelphia 76ers came from behind to beat the Orlando Magic 123-110 last night. And Shannon, as I mentioned, oh, by the way, Philadelphia coming to San Antonio on Sunday night to take on the San Antonio Spurs. So Joel Embiid, a superstar, a big name, continues to deliver the goods.
As he should when that team's going through what they've been going through. Someone's got to do it.
Speaking of delivering the goods, just one more NBA note here, and I'll pull it up. So last night, Brooklyn, and they're coming in Friday night. Brooklyn last night in their game, LaMarcus Aldridge, former Spur, had 27 points. And when he was here, there were a lot of Spurs fans who turned on LaMarcus. And one of the reasons was he wasn't Tim Duncan. You know, he was never going to replace Tim Duncan. He was never going to be Tim Duncan. But Brooklyn beat the Washington Wizards last night, 119-118. LaMarcus, 27.6 rebounds. Meanwhile, in Chicago, the Bulls beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 117-104. Former Spur DeMar DeRozan scores 30 last night with 7 assists. So DeMar DeRozan with the Bulls, LaMarcus Aldridge with the Nets combined for 57 points last night. I'm just things that make you go,
Well, you don't want to be the Lakers, right? You don't want to have guys who have that name and that power, and every now and then, sure, they have a fantastic game, but put them all together doesn't always go the way you plan. I like the youth movement that the Spurs are working with right now.
I agree with you. And as much as Spurs fans are gripping and complaining, and not all of them, just the vocal minority, the loud ones on social media, on Spurs React, etc. A lot of Spurs fans get it. This was a necessary youth movement, and it's making progress. And I still think the record won't indicate this, but I still think it's ahead of schedule. And DeJounte Murray had a triple-double last night and was godlike once again. We'll talk a little more Spurs. We are the Thursday before a Saturday, Sunday of NFL divisional playoffs. We will dive deep into the NFL playoffs. And coming up, our high five play of the day. And yes, it is Cowboys related. How in God's name are we going to give a high five to anything related to the Dallas Cowboys? We'll demonstrate that for you next. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. He is the pride of Oklahoma State University, Jeremy KOLOK. Good music in the morning. Enjoying it. Get warm. Stay warm, people. It's cold out there. We're with you till 9. It's the Chris Duel Show. Good morning, Beth Settle. Welcome in. I see Beth Settle, Wes Perkins, who says LaMarcus Aldridge was never appreciated like Patty or Rudy. I think it has to do with the grumblings from time to time about his game and not Pop not fitting the offense around his skills. Roger Lopez, welcome from the living room. Sam Tobias, Luisa Alanis, Hector Gomez, Anthony Del Toro, John Williams, Amber, a.k.a. Foamfoot 420, Tracy Bogert, the chairman of the Bexar County MAGA Republicans, coronavirus deniers, and voting suppressors, Chris Gonzalez, Luisa Alanis, Jesse Bratton, Ralph Balderas. Welcome, everybody. Steve Duraco, the original rock, the original Italian stallion, THE Rock. By the way, we've got some very good audio coming up on the high five play of the day. Just a little heads up. You're gonna wanna hear it. Trust me. Coffee time. I had some dreams. They were clouds in my coffee, and you're so vain. You probably think this song is about you. You're so vain. You probably think this song is about you. Don't you? Don't you? Don't you now?
NeoU is the game-changing fitness app with real-time coaching, daily live workouts with friends, and thousands of on-demand classes like strength, boot camp, yoga, and more. And right now, NeoU has an offer too good to miss. Get a 50% lifetime discount and pay just $3.99 per month when you sign up by January 31st. That's a lifetime 50% discount on your NeoU subscription, plus a 60-day free trial to kickstart your 2022 fitness routine. Get started now at neoufitness.com. That's neoufitness.com.
Your local Staples is saying thanks in a big way. Right now, earn a $30 Staples store bonus when you spend $100 in store. Get custom printing or signage for your business, earn a $30 bonus. Get the latest tech, earn a $30 bonus. Get supplies for your classroom, earn a $30 bonus. It's that easy. Set yourself up for success in the new year by exploring what's new at Staples.
All right.
Limit 1 and times rewards members only. Bonus must be redeemed in store. See staplesconnect.com/store bonus for details.
That's funny. Roger says Jeremy never uses the restroom. I don't know if that's true. I don't think he uses the restroom. Okay. John Williams says we are hearing commercials. It's Throwback Thursday. So therefore, I might.
Mr. Clean. So
feel a little bit better.
Eraser, and his exact words were, "It changed my life. I used to spend a ridiculous amount of time trying to remove tomato sauce from inside our microwave and soap scum off the bathtub. It's like spice magic, and my secret weapon for cleaning the kitchen, bathroom, doors, and walls." Even keeping my sneakers clean. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser.
Mike is going to be very. That's what I'm talking about.
Magic Eraser, the unicorn of cleaning.
Thomas Wade Landry, God's coach, America's coach. I don't want to block him. I'll get over here. Tom Landry over my shoulder. That's much better. Louisa, we are hearing commercials and terrible music. Thank you. That's what we bring you in the morning. Commercials and terrible music on the Chris Duel Show. Enjoy. Wow, what a shocker. Foamfoot 420, a.k.a. Amber, had a date tonight, but she's going to cancel it due to the weather, which shocks me. That's breaking news because, Amber, you are usually a party reptile. I'm shocked that even that the weather, it's like the Postal Service and you, neither sleet nor cold nor dead of night would normally stop you from your party endeavors. Yeah, and Sam, that's a Mike Taylor thing. I don't do Mike Taylor bits. I don't do people I'd like to punch. I don't do fart drops. His listeners love them. And I don't do a terrible Rejoin Music Thursday. That's a creation of, and that belongs to Mike Taylor. And God love him. People love it. All right. At some point here this morning, I'll just begin to set it up. I need to edit some audio, but I'll do that a little later. Let's see here. I can begin the process. What am I going to do first? I'm going to do that one. Yeah, thank you, Jesse. I need the extra coffee today. Absolutely. Wow. Wes Perkins, a band director, a musician, and a music nerd, trying to figure out our musical chord progressions. Yeah, Sam, I get it. And Terrible Music Thursdays is a great idea. Although some of the things he plays, like ABBA, I like.
We're back. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Join in by dialing 1-800-707-9760.
Jeremy KOLOK, your Soundscape stylist. Rocking in the free world once again. On a chilly, please God, get me to spring. Thursday morning, January 20th. And it's cold. As I was driving in this morning in San Antonio, and of course Shannon comes to you from Austin this morning and every morning. But it was 37 degrees, but crazy blustery wind. So that wind chill must have been, and I heard the wind chill was like 28 here. So it must have been in the 20s all over the place. Tomorrow, temperatures expected to be 10 degrees colder. Temperatures in the upper 20s in these parts tomorrow. Same for Saturday morning, and then I think it gets a little better. Daytime, bearable. Just early morning, that's just god awful. Welcome in. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. I forgot to mention we got tremendous guests this morning. Our good friend James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. As the Pro Football Hall of Fame gets ready to name another class that will be happening in short order. So we look forward to that. Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA athletics from El Paso. Kinky Friedman has a great song about El Paso, but we probably can't play it on the radio. We might be able to. I think I used to play that back when I used to have Kinky on my news talk show a lot when he was running for governor. But Andy Everett from El Paso. Andy not only talks to us about UTSA athletics, he's the voice of UTSA athletics, but we talk all sports with him. NFL football, NFL playoffs, NBA, college, you name it. We're all over it with Andy Everett. All right. This will be interesting. And actually, this is actually very good. I kind of know what's coming. It is the High Five play of the day, appropriately sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. And Shannon, I often give the 411 on what goes on at High Five, but you are a frequent flyer at High Five, so you have firsthand axe throwing knowledge of High Five. Tell the people about High Five.
That's true. Well, a lot of people say new year, new you. High Five says new year, new cocktails. So make sure you check out their Lakeway location. The bar in the upper level bowling alley is spectacular, and they've got new cocktails for you to try in this new year. Dry January, I doubt anybody lasted. If you're still doing Dry January, let us know, because I'm probably not going to believe you. Make sure you get out to High Five, especially it's so cold outside right now. But if you still want to golf, if you still want to play football, if you still want to play baseball, if you want to play zombie dodgeball on a farm, you can do that inside in the warmth at High Five and warm your insides with one of their new delicious cocktails. Chris, today's High Five is going to former Dallas Cowboy and I think Dallas Cowboy advocate, I think we can call him today, and now a brewer of beer, one Troy Aikman. We talked about him yesterday and kind of tossed around the idea of, what things might be like if he became the GM. Would he be a good fit, or would this be kind of a John Elway-like situation? And we thought it'd be a good fit because he keeps it real. He keeps it real when he's broadcasting, and he keeps it real when he's off air as well and joining others. He was on air, I believe, in Dallas yesterday, and he laid into the Cowboys. In particular, he laid into their not so great usage of one CD Lamb, who was next to invisible, apparently, to Dak Prescott and the rest of that offense throughout that playoff game. When you have those types of weapons, I mean, that's what you look at when you see a matchup. Before the game starts, you and I, we talk about the quarterback matchup. The next thing you go to, who are the other big names and how do they compare to those on the other roster? Well, you might as well have just etched CD Lamb off of that list, because he was used so little. And Troy Aikman had a lot to say about it yesterday, Chris.
Last week in the game against San Francisco, I think and it happened in our game with Philadelphia, and I commented on it if y'all watched the game, was that CeeDee Lamb, what did he have, one catch in the game?
Yep.
Is that right? So I watched that game because I'm getting ready for San Francisco this week, so I've studied the tape. And I was watching it really more from San Francisco's defensive perspective, but I also was keeping an eye on what Dallas was doing offensively. And San Francisco rushed four guys for the most part. They blitzed occasionally, but they're a four-man rush football team. But a lot of times when you say that, then you think, oh, well, they're playing coverage. Well, they mixed in some coverage, but there was a lot of single coverage on CeeDee Lamb. And I would tell you, as I said in our game last week at halftime, when they couldn't get the ball to Devontae Smith, when the Eagles couldn't. If it was back when I was playing, and I hate going back to that point because nobody cares, but what I see around the league, it's not just Dallas, it was in Philadelphia, I've seen it with a lot of teams, that a lot of these offenses, they want to scheme things. The coordinators it's all about scheme. Rather than this corner is playing soft, he's scared to death, just run the route tree. Just run a comeback, run a dig route, run a curl, run anything. And you're going to complete the pass whenever you want. And Urban would have had 10 catches at halftime if they had played us the way that they played CeeDee Lamb in that game. So I just don't quite understand that. It's interesting. I was at Madden's memorial service yesterday in Oakland, and Peyton Manning was there. And we got to talking about the game, and I was having this conversation with him, and he agreed that, more and more, you just see that teams, the game's not that difficult. If I've got a great player at wide receiver and a corner is playing him single coverage, throw him the ball. He's going to win most of the time, and that's what they do in Green Bay with Devontae Adams. But for some reason, a lot of other teams, including Dallas in that game on Sunday, and I'm sure that the coaches go back and look at that and say, man, why didn't we do that? They did a couple times. They hit the one catch he had, and then they had another one where the DB played it pretty well. But for the most part, they just didn't take advantage of some of the looks that I think they have and they could have.
Chris, one of the lines I love in there is, he says, the game of football, it's not that difficult when you really break it down. I mean, that reminds me, when we play front yard football, we had so many kids on our street, we could field enough people to get a full game going, full 11v11. And when you were playing receiver, you didn't just run the route and stop. You wanted the ball. So you did whatever you could to run around and get open. I don't see the Cowboys doing that. It feels like they run their routes and then they say, okay, well, there was that. You can't do that in the National Football League. And I'm not saying that was the reason why CeeDee Lamb was not as big of a part of that game. But I think throughout the season, we saw that as a struggle for the games, like he mentioned against the Eagles, where he was just not in use. And we've seen it happen with Amari Cooper. I mean, the biggest hit on Amari Cooper when he first joined the Cowboys was dude does not travel well, does not play well on the road. And he's gotten better with that. But overall, I don't know at the end of the day what Mike McCarthy and that coaching staff and even Dak had in mind when they didn't use CeeDee Lamb. But I think the points Troy Aikman made were great, needed to be said, especially of a guy of his position as well as the connections that he has to that organization.
God bless Troy Aikman. And if you listen to the whole 16-minute interview, it's funny, Shannon, there's been talk that Troy Aikman, if asked and if he were given autonomy by Jerry Jones, he would probably consider, if not take, the general manager job of the Dallas Cowboys. Troy Aikman, apparently in the final year of his contract with Fox, apparently other networks are going to throw a ton of money at him. There's no salary cap on general managers. Jerry could make it happen if he wanted to. Clearly, Troy loves the Dallas Cowboys. And there's a moment in there, he's talking a little bit about the San Francisco 49ers. And Troy says, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's very close from my memory to what he said. Troy said, if I were hiring a coach, the first coach I'd try to hire is Kyle Shanahan of the San Francisco 49ers. It was interesting that when you listen to Troy Aikman and you listen to him as a guy who has given thought to, and people have talked about, would he be a great general manager? He's got such a high football IQ. We talked about what John Elway has done in Denver. And I know recently you had the quarterback issues, but to John Elway's credit, he did bring Peyton Manning over and deliver a Super Bowl championship to the Denver Broncos. I know he wants more and would have wanted more, but Troy Aikman, and I so agree with this, Shannon, to give him the high five this morning. He keeps it real. He's got the relationship with Jerry, but he's certainly not beholden to Jerry. And everything he said was so much an indictment on that Cowboys coaching staff and certainly the offensive side of the ball. Kellen Moore, and as we said yesterday, Shannon, the buck stops with head coach Mike McCarthy. Defense, if you think about it, those first two 49er possessions that put up 10 points, that was a bad start to the game. But the defense held him to 23 points. And the defense held him to 13 points after the first two possessions of the game. That Cowboys offense was supposed to deliver more than 7 points in the first half and more than 17 points in the game. That Cowboy offense in your house should have delivered 24 or more points, should have delivered 30, 35 points. It's such a good offense. And that's part of, I think, what Troy Aikman was lamenting. Huge failures on the part of the Cowboys in general, their offense in particular. And again, as we said yesterday, Shannon, the 14 penalties is an indicator on character and discipline. The Cowboys have very little character and very little discipline. And I put that on Mike McCarthy. And certainly it's been that way with Jerry Jones pretty much since Bill Parcells left.
Yeah. And that's why we appreciate Troy Aikman for saying what he said. I think he started this topic of conversation with, I don't want to be all back in my day, right? Because there are plenty of athletes who, they have the rings, they have the accomplishments, whatever, but they leave the game. They still watch and whatever, but they don't analyze it. They don't look at it. They don't see it on the level that Troy Aikman continues to see it at and sees it every day. And again, with his connection to this organization, you really hope that someone within there is listening and then taking those things to heart and hopefully putting some of them into action. And we can hold on to hope that one day he does become a part of that organization again in a way that he can be more hands-on. You mentioned Mike McCarthy. He had a pretty long presser yesterday. He mentioned that they did 3 days of closeout interviews with the players. A lot of them specifically mentioned penalties, right, and the discipline, and that's something they want to work on. I think something that shocked a lot of people. We've got the audio. We might be able to get to it later today. But Mike McCarthy, was obviously asked about clock management and the situation to end that game, in which there was 14 seconds left on the clock. And he said that was the right play. And in my mind, the way he talked for 2 minutes on it, the way he talked about it, he was still deciding for himself and trying to convince himself that what happened was the right call. And I still don't believe him. And that's why I think we need a guy like Troy, who's been in those situations and sees the game as it's played now to be part of the greater conversation for this Cowboys organization.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy just trying to defend himself where it's indefensible. So many things could go wrong, and they did with 14 seconds on the clock to try something that unorthodox and that risky. When if you fail on that risk, you don't throw the ball to the end zone. You don't even try to complete a pass into the end zone. It's asinine. It's unforgivable, and I'm with you. It's indefensible at this point, Mike McCarthy. I do want to get Jeremy KOLOK. Jeremy, you're a huge Cowboys fan. You were there, you were there this month and this year, watching on January 2nd the Cowboys lose to the Arizona Cardinals in the regular season. Your thoughts on what Troy Aikman had to say? Your thoughts on Mike McCarthy saying, "Hey, doubling down, tripling down." Yesterday, saying that last run by Dak Prescott, which killed the clock and killed the game and killed the Cowboys' hopes, was the right call.
Well, I love what Troy said because what I was thinking about is just the way before I even heard him say that, I was thinking about the way the 49ers used Deebo Samuel, right? I mean, and it's like we could use CD Lamb that way, I feel like. But yeah, no, I totally agree with what Troy said, and I just wish Mike McCarthy would go away for a little bit, at least for a little bit. I don't know. I'm so sick of this guy, and it's like he said. He said that was the right call, right, Shannon? That it was the right call.
Yes.
And it's okay. Was it the right call for you guys to lose in the first round? Was that all according to the plan? Like, how are you saying that's the right call after the fact when you severely disappointed your expectations, really? I mean, you didn't reach your expectations. I just want him to go away for a little bit. I'm tired of this guy.
Might have been the right call with 27 seconds left, or with 14 seconds. We saw the result, and they lose, you lose. Cowboys are done again, same as it ever was. Coming up, we'll talk more Dallas Cowboys. We'll talk more NFL playoffs. We'll hear some Mike McCarthy audio. You can join us on the phone lines. You're always welcome. 800-707-9760. James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Andy Everett, voice of UTSA Athletics. And a chance to win $1,000 in the next half hour on the Chris Duel Show. All right. Okay. I do need more coffee. I do. So let me go get that, then I'll be back. Jeremy KOLOK, ladies and gentlemen. You know him, you love him, you can't get enough of him. John Williams saying that the Dallas media is asking for Mike McCarthy's head. I can only hope that people like Troy Aikman, and Troy has to be a little diplomatic in public. I can only hope there are people like Troy Aikman, whom Jerry Jones listens to, who are behind the scenes and in private, Roger, who are behind the scenes and in private saying, dude, I don't know that Roger would say dude, but Jerry, You gotta blow out Mike McCarthy if you want any hope. Back in a sec. Woo! Yeah, I do believe, Sam, I think it was 2011 after the 2010 season. I'd have to Google that to be sure, but I think that's the case. Joe Garcia, it can't be the right call when your players don't execute the play. Didn't know that the basics 101, give the ball to the ref. Might as well have been the 15th penalty there with a combo of bad time management, bad use of timeouts all season. Boom. Joe Garcia, I think you nailed it right there, man. Boom, boom, boom. Agree with you. Okay, now that sounds really highfalutin there, Wes Perkins. About to make my own coffee with my Cuisine Art coffee maker. I don't even know what that is. Good for you, man, Wes, and anybody else who gets to stay home today. Okay. John Williams sent me a YouTube song, Wham, with George Michael, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go. It's kind of random. I do like that song. Well, a step up from a Keurig. Wow. I am drinking K-Cup coffee as we speak. I make it at home and then heat it up when I get here. Let's see. We got James Allen joining us soon. In an hour, if that's soon. I mean, in the scheme of the history of the universe, that's pretty soon. Here we come.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
You know the day destroys the night. Night divides the day. Try to run.
Wes, I don't yet fully understand the Hernan Gomez move or what's going on with that yet.
Now, Chris Duel.
Welcome to Thursday. Welcome to the cold, blustery weather as we break on through to the other side, talking a lot of NFL playoffs. We're talking Cowboys, as we should, as God intended. We heard the voice of Troy Aikman yesterday as he went on radio in Dallas. Very critical. I would say very critical. I think we could characterize that as very critical of how the Cowboys handled things against the San Francisco 49ers. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, your Soundscape stylist, the pride of Oklahoma State University, and male nanny for Mike Gundy's children, Gunner, Gavin, and Gage. That would be Jeremy KOLOK. Welcome in, Jeremy, doing a bang-up job as always.
I think Gavin is actually older than me, if we're being technical.
Gavin is older than, well,
Yeah,
it's so, I mean, all the more impressive that you would be Gavin's male nanny. Did Gavin go on to play football? Did any of it? And oh, by the way, what's with the G's? I looked up Mike Gundy's kids. They're all named with the letter G. Gunner, Gavin, and Gage. Did you, in your investigative reporting, 2 years covering the football team up in Stillwater, did you say, Coach, dude, what up with all the G's?
I assume it's for so that you could have the double G, like the G Gundy, and then I mean, my best guess, knowing their lifestyle, is that it's so that it was for their brands, for their brands on their cows. That's my guess. They could have two big G's. GG.
It's got to be like the Kardashians with the K's, right? Gundy's got the G's.
Yeah.
They've got a lock on those.
They are the Oklahoma Kardashians.
But see, but Mike Gundy isn't the double G, so he's the dad and the patriarch of the. If he was Greg Gundy, I could see. Okay, I'm going to name all my sons double G. But for he and his wife Kristen to say, "Oh, we'll name all our kids double G," I don't get it. Do Gunner, Gavin, or Gage have a mullet, Jeremy? Based on your reporting.
The youngest one, Gage, the last I saw him, he had pretty long hair. So he has like long golden blonde locks. So
wow.
Yeah, it's not like the Mike Gundy type mullet, but he has pretty long hair. I think the other two have short hair. And the middle one, Gunner, when I was in Stillwater, Gunner was the quarterback for the Stillwater High School football team. And when he was a senior, he didn't get a ton of offers because I mean, he wasn't like the best player, but they made a playoff run and he was getting some D1 offers. I think the best offer he got was Central Michigan or East, maybe even it was
Gary Hogaboom, former Cowboy quarterback, went to Central Michigan.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And Antonio Brown for whatever that's
Thank you very
worth.
much.
But but then I don't think he got a lot of offers just because people assumed he would go to OSU, which he did end up walking on at OSU, and he redshirted last year. So hey, man, if there is some catastrophic injury situation to the OSU QB room, you will probably see a little left-handed Gundy out there slinging the football if it comes to that.
Wow, that would be interesting. Speaking of the transfer portal, I did notice yesterday, and I know this guy just because he went to USC, and it was just kind of interesting. JT Daniels, who was at Georgia, and actually this season started, I think, 2 or 3 games for Georgia. He finally gave way to, he got hurt, banged up, and Stetson Bennett became Stetson Bennett and won the national championship. And it was announced this week, Stetson Bennett coming back as the quarterback of the defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs. So JT Daniels once again entering the transfer portal. This guy, when he was at USC, he was supposed to be the next big thing. And then on opening day a couple of seasons ago, maybe 3 by now, he gets injured and lost for the season. And in came Keaton Slovis, who looked great and looked like the future of USC. So JT Daniels went into the transfer portal, went to Georgia. It looked like, man, what a great move. They're such a good team. He might lead them to a national championship. You just heard what happened. Keaton Slovis, by the way, now with Lincoln Riley in place, went into the transfer portal, and he went to Pitt. So he will quarterback Pitt now. But Shannon, the musical chairs of all of these and my God, JT Daniels, it seems like he's been in. I saw him play Texas when USC did the home and away with the Longhorns. I went up to DKR to watch USC play Texas. My God, 4 years ago? And JT Daniels feels to me like he's 32 years old by now. When's this guy going to run out of eligibility?
Yeah, he'll turn 22 on February 2nd, a date that we are also looking forward to. But yeah,
I'll have to forgive him.
The red shirt and the COVID year, it's become a lot. I'm starting to like the transfer portal. I mean, we have this conversation about loyalty, especially when you have coaches like a Lincoln Riley do what he did to Oklahoma in favor of USC. But with these kids in the transfer portal, as we know, it's such a small percentage of kids that go into these transfer portals and then end up where they want to go, or where they end up going, they actually get the playing time they want or the type of school they want out of it, right? So often these kids find like, oh, the grass isn't necessarily greener, right? But for a guy like this, obviously Stinson coming back, he's like, okay, well, he's going to be the quarterback for Georgia. I mean, this guy last week was Mr. Bennett running a Cane's restaurant that like blew up the social media sites by storm of like he wins a national championship and now he's out here slinging some chicken fingers. I can't win over that guy. I got to get myself in the transfer portal. But I almost think of it of like when you're applying for a job or you're in an interview and you give them your resume and it's got the time and the dates. It's like, would you rather have that gap in there of like, so what were you doing during this time? Or would you rather have like 3 jobs within a span of, 9 months, right? Like, what is it a loyalty thing? Are you just late? Like communicate that to me. And with these quarterbacks jumping around nonstop, I'm just like, when are you going to settle down and stick to something? What happened to that?
It's going to be fascinating. And we're still relatively new into transfer portal plus NIL. So it's going to be fascinating to see. I'm sure we're eventually going to see a guy who's really, really good at quarterback, who like goes to one school and has great numbers, and then somebody else offers him even bigger NIL money to bounce around. We're probably going to see somebody like play 4 years at 4 different colleges while putting up big numbers and putting up millions of dollars or getting millions of dollars. And Shannon, you've said that a lot, and I agree, and you're right. Most of the time, especially at quarterback, and it seems that more often than not, transfer portal players tend to be quarterbacks because they're so sought after, and so many of them come out of high school highly touted, and they have high expectations, and they want to use college to set them up for the NFL. And most of the time, you're right, the grass is not greener. It usually doesn't work out as well as they expected. However, I got to believe the greatest transfer portal success story yet has to be Joe Burrow,
of course,
who wasn't getting any satisfaction, to paraphrase the Rolling Stones, at Ohio State, goes to LSU, and he and that university have maybe the best season in college football history. So I think quarterbacks like JT Daniels and all of them who enter the transfer portal go, hey man, it worked for Joe Burrow. Yeah. I just want to be the next Joe Burrow. Well, good luck being the next Joe Burrow.
To that, I have to say, you're not the shining star that you thought you were in high school and coming into college, right? For there to be shining stars, there have to be some out there that are really dull. And there's a lot more that are dull than that bright one that you see when the sky is oh so clear and you're like, I know that one is me. No, it's not, buddy. Just suffer through it like the rest of us. Okay, get the education. It's probably free for you. We know the statistics of guys that don't make it to the next level. We know the statistics of guys that do make it to the next level and then don't play for very long. You get the education. Go back to USC. Just get the education. Come on, man. It's fine. It's over. Let it go.
Let it go. it's got to be so tough, though, especially at quarterback, but at any position, when all your life, I mean, you were the best Pee Wee player, you were the best Pop Warner player, you were the best middle school football player, you're the best in high school, and everybody's telling you, oh my God, you're going to go to Texas and you're going to be a superstar, and then you're going to go to the NFL, and then you go. And it happens all, so often when you go from one level to the next and you realize like everybody's seems to be as good as I am, if not better. And to get that rude awakening, man, I noticed in USC got an interesting guy in the transfer portal, I think within the last week, Jerry Rice's son. I think he went from like Colorado at wide receiver, and he wasn't a 5-star recruit. He was a 3-star recruit at wide receiver. Can you imagine it's what we talked about, Mike Gundy's son at quarterback, walking on at Oklahoma State. Can you imagine being the son of Jerry Rice and you're a wide receiver? And it's like, you're just a 3-star recruit. What's wrong with you? Why, are you not trying hard enough? You've got Jerry Rice DNA. You're supposed to be a golden god. Mm-hmm. And, here he is just kind of a hanger on. And now Lincoln Riley going to try to do something with the son of Jerry Rice at USC.
Yeah, I guess I'd say I only have half of his DNA. I don't know who his mom is.
No, good point.
But that's always.
Right. And that's, I guess, hey, Mom, I know Dad's DNA rocks. What about you? What have you contributed to my DNA? Oh, God.
They can't all be Bronny James.
We have a contest coming up. True. Yes. And I'm still waiting for when Bronny James comes to the NBA, and I want to see Mr. LeBron James play with him. All right, we'll do the contest here in about 2 minutes, but Shannon will begin on this, and if we carry it over on the other side of the contest, we can do that. But transitioning and continuing on the college football scene as it relates to the NFL, big news out of Texas yesterday regarding one of their best kicker/punters ever. We now know he has determined his future. What do we know about that?
Yeah, and best point scorer, Cameron Dicker, better known as Dicker the kicker, who has ice water in his veins, announced that he would be heading to the NFL draft. He, of course, had that extra year thanks to COVID. He's been the kicker since his freshman year. Lately, he took over punting duties as well. Of course, when Tom Herman was around, he, of course, famously never referred to the kicker or the punter as their actual names. He just said the kicker and the punter. They don't deserve to be called by their names. I don't think that's the way that Coach Sark operates. But nonetheless, a guy that will surely be missed. It was almost like the quarterback position for me at Texas, this kicking spot, because we had so many years of guys that just, when you were settling for a field goal or going for a field goal, the Justin Tuckers of the world, you were like, yeah, no brainer. Texas versus Texas A&M, the final game, right? Justin Tucker goes out there. Sure, we're a little nervous. You're at A&M. It's very loud out there. But in your heart of hearts, you know that that's Justin Tucker and he's going to make that. And then there were so many years of guys that it was like the Dallas Cowboys right now, right? You're like, I don't know about this. And same with the quarterback situation. You just kind of question things week in and week out. Dicker, the kicker, came in and gave us a solid run, a guy that we put a lot of trust in, and deservedly so. And I feel like kickers are kind of like quarterbacks where like there's plenty of them out there, but to find one that is as consistent and as reliable as him, I think is going to be a challenge. And hopefully we've got someone at Texas who can fill that void next year.
Yeah, and you alluded to Dallas and Greg Zuerlein and some of his woes. You got to wonder if maybe the Dallas Cowboys, I don't know where in the draft Cameron Dicker the kicker might land, but certainly you look at all the problems Dallas needs to solve going into next season. I don't think you can stick with Greg Zuerlein given his inconsistencies. So, 4th round, 5th round, maybe Dicker the kicker sitting there for you. Cowboys, I'm just saying. Quick break. Timeout right here for the the grand in your hand cash contest. We do this beginning at 7:20 every morning, do it every hour on the 20s till 6:20 every weekday. Somebody wins $1,000. Somebody's going to win it right now. You're going to get a keyword right now, and we'll tell you where to take it to get in for a chance to win $1,000. Here it is.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Work. That's work. Enter it on our station website now.
Work. And you can take that to either or, but we suggest both. Double your chances to win. am1300thezone.com and ticket760.com. Somebody wins $1,000 every hour. It's amazing. And we hope that you win. All right, Shannon, let's see. You mentioned this earlier, so why don't we see if Jeremy can get us the audio. We talked a lot of Mike McCarthy in the 6 o'clock hour. We played audio from yesterday from Troy Aikman. He went on the radio in Dallas, had a lot to say about the Cowboys' inability to get it done against the San Francisco 49ers. And Shannon, Mike McCarthy defending his decision-making and his time management yesterday in a press conference. I said this during the break, Shannon. I hope Troy Aikman has class, and Troy Aikman is being diplomatic while still being real.
Yes.
In his interview yesterday on the radio. I don't think Troy Aikman's going to say publicly Jerry Jones needs to blow out Mike McCarthy, but I pray that I don't know who Jerry Jones listens to. I think he might listen to Troy, or at least consider what he has to say. I think he might listen to Roger, who's always there in the suite at AT&T Stadium. I hope some people who have Jerry's ear, please, in private, convince Jerry to, blow out Mike McCarthy, regardless of what Stephen Jones had to say on Monday about him.
Yeah, I agree. And as you said, we've got this Mike McCarthy audio. He is obviously asked about the play that ended the playoff game, ended the Dallas Cowboys season. He starts off by saying that, it was the right choice. And then we have him explaining, or as I feel like it is, him trying to convince himself that it was, in fact, the right choice. Here it is.
So it's the right call. The situation's right off the call sheet. And so that part's right. The part that we got to talk about, as a staff, and, had a chance to visit with Dak about it, and just, briefly speaking with officiating last night, is the mechanics, our mechanics matching their mechanics. And, I'm not going to get into their mechanics, but, as far as the draw play, the execution, the only thing that we talked about, Dak and I, was, put a yard limit on it, cut it to 10 yards. I mean, that's probably going to be the change, the adjustment that we make. But as far as Dak sliding, giving the ball to the center can spot the ball. The receiver can spot the ball. So the fact that, the opinion of you can't spot the ball is not correct. So the center can spot the ball. Our guys are trained to spot the ball exactly how the referee spots the ball. You put the tip on the inside edge of the hash. Obviously the umpire has to come in. All he has to do is touch it. We're in a 3-2-1 situation. You snap the ball. So obviously that didn't happen right there at that point. So, but as far as the training of Dak getting the ball to Tyler getting it down on the hash mark, that part was intact. So, because, obviously we got to factor in what happened there, at the end of that play, because we've repped it. Like I said, there's training that's gone into that situation. I think you guys mocked me on the Friday schedule being, fast start Friday and furious finish Friday. So for a coach, ROI, the investment. So I got to take a hard look at it. But, we had great confidence in that situation, because we were just trying to get inside the 30-yard line for the change the play call for the final play. So it's the right call based on our preparation. We just got to really look at the mechanics and the timing of that too. So, but yeah, it's a 13-second threshold is the call. So it's at 14 seconds, it's, in my view, the right call.
Wrong. 13-second threshold. You had 14 seconds. And Shannon, where he's right, but he's wrong, saying the center can spot the ball or the wide receiver can spot the ball. All he has to do, the ref has to come in and touch it. That is only if the center or the receiver spots the ball perfectly, flawlessly. If it's 1 inch different than the referee believes the hash where the ball should be, then the referee has to move the ball. What are the odds that the center or the wide receiver or a Dallas Cowboy or any team the Cowboys are playing in a similar situation would spot the ball? The referee has to verify that it's the perfect spot. So Mr. Mike McCarthy, with your 13-second threshold and you got 14 seconds to pull it off, you're assuming a perfect spot of the ball and a referee, right there where Dak landed to touch the ball. Shannon, he said one other thing, it was the perfect call. Maybe we'll have to talk to Dak about maybe making it a 10-yard rush. Why didn't you do that in advance? If it's the perfect call, why would you make it if it could be wrong as far as Dak running 14 yards instead of 10 yards? It's total crap, Shannon. I am sick and tired of Mike McCarthy. Jerry needs to blow him out. Jerry probably won't blow him out. And you and I and Jeremy and Cowboy fans everywhere will be in the same position a year from today going, damn, can you believe the Cowboys are already out of the playoffs? Same as it ever was.
Sir, I admire your passion and echo that same sentiment. And I'm glad to know that after listening to that, he certainly didn't convince you that he made the right call while he was still trying to convince himself.
I hope Dallas media, I didn't see that press conference, Shannon. I just hope, I hope there were follow-up questions, and I hope, so often the media, you hear that courtesy chuckle when a coach says something that's supposed to be funny that isn't even necessarily that funny, and your media, your regular beat writers, oh, it's so funny, coach. I hope, and I trust, and I sense Dallas media who, they are critical of the Cowboys, and my God, they've had a lot of practice since 1996. I hope they're being loud. John Williams joining us on the live video feed from Dallas this morning says the Dallas media is calling for the head of Mike McCarthy, and I second that emotion. Coming up, Shannon's salty shakedown on a throwback Thursday. Freeze Mageddon 2022 is upon us. We'll bring you some sports birthdays, some sports history. 8 o'clock hour is going to be huge. James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We love talking football with James. Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA Athletics. We'll talk college hoops and all things sports with Andy. Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy KOLOK is your Soundscape stylist. We're with you till 9. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. Welcome, Gabe Quintanilla. Gabe the Hammer Quintanilla. Gabe Quintanilla, one of the greatest judges in San Antonio history. I think Gabe would find Mike McCarthy guilty of negligence. I sentence you to be fired by the Dallas Cowboys. All right, let's see here. I need to do a couple more things audio-wise. Let's see here. Whoops. That's not good. Let's try that again. Yeah, Joe, I see you're writing Groundhog Day with the Cowboys since 1996. I would say that's accurate. See, Leonard A. Ibarra, the third, it should have never came to that play, even if we would have pulled it off. We didn't deserve to win with all those bonehead penalties that my youth football team don't commit. Good point, sir. Let's see here. Okay, I did that. Now let me check one thing here. Where's my... Okay, so there's that. That's good. Now I need to do this in that case. Here we go.
Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Find Chris and Salty on Twitter At Chris Duel and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
Welcome in. Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney on this Throwback Thursday, January 20th. It is cold outside, but it's going to be colder tomorrow. So enjoy it one way or another. Get some coffee, get some hot chocolate. Do what you can to warm up. Coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown, big 8 o'clock hour. James Allen, our good friend from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We'll talk all things football, NFL playoffs, and more with James just after 8 o'clock. Also in the 8 o'clock hour, just after 8:30, Andy Everett, voice of UTSA Athletics, golf guru, Katy Perry fan. We'll talk all things sports, all things football, NFL playoffs, college hoops, and more with Andy just after 8:30. And another chance to win $1,000 coming your way at 8:20. But let's get this party started right now, just before Shannon's Salty Shakedown with sports birthdays and this day in sports history. This day in 1968, the Houston Cougars defeat the UCLA Bruins 71-69 to win basketball's game of the century. It was played at the Astrodome. It was Lou Alcindor of UCLA, who went on to be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, versus Elvin Hayes of Houston. Elvin had a great career with the Washington Bullets. With that win, nationally televised, they called it the game of the century. The Cougars snapped UCLA's 47-game win streak. We mentioned yesterday in 74, the 88-game win streak of UCLA was snapped by Notre Dame. Lots of win streaks for for UCLA basketball under John Wooden back in the 60s and early 70s. On this day in 1980, it was Super Bowl 14 at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. Pittsburgh Steelers beat the LA Rams 31-19. Rams led going into the fourth quarter behind quarterback Vince Ferragamo, but the Steelers came from behind to take it in the fourth quarter, 31-19. Your MVP, Terry Bradshaw. And all these years later, you can win Bradshaw's money with that Fox betting app. Finally, on this day in 1985, Super Bowl 19 at Stanford Stadium, the San Francisco 49ers beat the Miami Dolphins 38-16. Joe Montana, your MVP for the 49ers. Losing quarterback was Dolphins rookie Dan Marino. And I mention this frequently. I remember everybody go, oh, man, Marino, he's great. He's going to come back to so many more Super Bowls. My God, he's just so great. And Marino would never sniff another Super Bowl, but he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's got a gold jacket. He can pal around with James Allen these days, so it's all good. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? January 20th, born on this day in 1966, NFL quarterback Rich Gannon, Pro Bowler 1999 to 2002, played with the Vikings, the Chiefs, the Raiders. Rich Gannon, born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Born on this day in 1967, NFL center Mark Stepnoski. He was the Jimmy Johnson Cowboys center in that Cowboy dynasty, would go on to be a Houston Oiler / Tennessee Titan. Mark Stepnoski, born in Erie, Pennsylvania. Born on this day in 1974, a bad man, and I mean that literally. Former Carolina Panthers wide receiver Ray Caruth. I don't know how much you know about Ray Caruth, but during his NFL career, his girlfriend was pregnant, so he arranged for her murder. Yeah, that's right. What a guy. Ray Caruth was found guilty of conspiring in her murder. Her name was Sharika Adams. She was pregnant with what would be Ray Caruth's son, who was born in the aftermath of her murder. Ray Carruth served 18 years of an 18 to 24-year sentence in North Carolina State Prison, and now would like a relationship with his son. Hey, thanks, Dad. Thanks for killing Mom. Ray Carruth, born this day in Sacramento, California. What a guy. And finally, born on this day in 1989, NFL quarterback, Super Bowl champion. There's a statue of him in Philadelphia, Philly special, born in Austin, Texas. And I think Shannon told me his dad has a restaurant or two in the Austin area. Nick Foles. Happy birthday, Nick Foles. Hey, man, dude had his one shining moment. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He's got a statue. Nick Foles is doing all right, if you ask me. Those are your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, and monkeys, here it is, your Thursday Freeze-mageddon Salty Shakedown.
Gentlemen, I did something last night that I don't do quite often. Okay, I am in bed by 8:30, if not sooner, but asleep by 8:30 kind of gal during the week, 9 o'clock on the weekends, because I am fun. But last night was, of course, Wednesday, and I told you guys when we left the show yesterday that my plans were to play trivia. Trivia started at 7:30. I don't think I got in bed until past 10 o'clock last night, so it was a late one for your girl, middle of the week. Typically, if I'm going to do it late, I'll do it on a Thursday night. If I've got to suffer through a Friday, that's much easier than what I'm doing today. But it's okay, because trivia makes me feel smart when we play as well as we did last night. We did not win, but we scored in the top half, so I feel accomplished for my first trivia outing in quite a while. We had a great squad. Our team name, for those wondering, was the Diamond Dogs, which is a shout out to the movie, or excuse me, the show Ted Lasso. That's what they call their little group of guys who huddle around and brainstorm and come up with solutions to problems. Chris, trivia is great. They had a bunch of different categories. My personal favorite category, and one that I usually feel pretty confident in, is the sports and leisure category. And I took notes of all of the questions from last night. So I want to go through them with you now and see if you can get all of them right. I'm sure you can. I'll be honest, my team did not. There were some that we did get stumped on. But I'm going to go with them three now. Jeremy, feel free to jump in here. Feel free for you guys to come up with the answer. And if you're listening right now, feel free to shout it out in your car, shout it out in your home. I will give you the answer at some point. All right, question number one, Chris, we're going to start off. What I thought was an easy question. I'll be honest, I got this run wrong. I will tell you why when we get to the answer. The Dallas Cowboys last won a Super Bowl when they defeated the Steelers 27-17. What year was that season played?
The season. See, therein lies the rub. Jeremy, I think I know this, but I'll give you a shot at it. Do you know the season?
Oh no, I would like to defer to you.
Okay, I do believe that was January of 1996. So I think the season would have been the 95-96 season.
Yes, there it is, Chris. I was so confident it was 96.
Ding, ding.
I don't even know if he even said season, the trivia pub master.
Question. Yeah.
Because I was like, that game was played in 96. We've been talking like it's been 25 years, right? But it's 1995. Yeah. That season is where that Super Bowl win goes. And boy, we're gonna have to wait yet another year to see if the Cowboys can get back to the Super Bowl after last weekend. All right, good job. Question number 2. Who was the first player in NFL history to rush for 10,000 career yards?
I think I have it, but I'm not positive. Jeremy, you want to take a shot?
No, I don't even have a guess on this one.
My only guess would be, I know he had 12,000 for the longest time. He was the rushing champion. Jim Brown of the Cleveland Browns would be my guess.
Yes, sir. 2 for 2, Chris.
Ding, ding,
good,
ding.
Chris Duel Show team. Let's do it. All right, number 3. What team did 2-time Super Bowl champion John Elway play for his entire career? I was Part of my team was my boyfriend. He listens to our show, and he immediately knew the answer because he listened to our show yesterday, and we were talking about Mr. John Elway.
Yes.
So he knew the answer to this one. Chris, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it because I'm sure you've got the answer here.
Jeremy, you have this one, right?
It'd be that team in Colorado, right?
Some Colorado team.
Yeah, one of them. Pretty sure.
But if you had to write it
Denver
down
Broncos.
for trivia, there you go. Denver Broncos. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, number
Denver
4.
Broncos.
This one I did get right, but I did have to guess on because I don't watch this sport often, and except for next month when it's the Olympics, and we do love us some hockey during the Olympics. Unfortunately, NHL players won't be a part of it due to COVID, and that's understandable, but still nonetheless, anytime Team USA is on a chest of a hockey player, there's some feeling and momentum behind that. All right, question 4. How many minutes must a player sit in the penalty box in hockey when they receive a minor penalty?
I am not a hockey guy. Jeremy, I'm going to put this entirely on you to keep our record. I am so not a hockey guy.
Isn't it 2 minutes?
Yes, sir.
I think I would guess
It's 2 minutes.
Wow.
Dude, I was doubting you. I thought it would have been longer than that.
He was doubting you, Jeremy.
Way to go.
We are 4 for 4. All right. Now, everyone should know the answer to this next one if you are a fan of our High Five segment here on the Chris Duel Show, because we talked about her. And the question here, what MLB organization named Rachel Bolovek, the manager of the Tampa Tarpons, making her the first female minor league baseball manager?
Jeremy, do you have this one? I've got this one because Shannon and I covered it last week.
Yeah, I don't know if Jeremy was here.
You're asking for the affiliate?
Yeah,
no,
the
that's for the
MLB
Major League
organization.
team,
Yeah,
the
the Major League. team.
I don't know if I was here that day. I have to let you go.
It is, and see, that's why you got to love this show, Shannon. We had that one, the New York Yankees.
There it is, New York Yankees. Woo! They did it. They became the first. Question 6. What is the name of the NBA player that holds the record for the most three-pointers made?
I think he just set that record. Jeremy, do you have it?
Is that Steph?
Steph Curry.
Steph Curry, you got it, sir. Of course, that was a pretty
Ding, ding, ding,
monumental
ding, ding.
moment, and I'm sure he will continue to keep that record going. All right, number 7. In 1969, this NBA legend earned his 11th NBA championship. For the life of me, I could not remember his name last night. Now I'll never forget it.
Got to be Bill Russell, correct?
Bill Russell, you got it, sir. We're 7 for 7 here on the Chris Duel Show this morning. All right, number 8. This boxer with the nickname The Real Deal was later called The Real Meal after Mike Tyson bit off part of his ear during a match. Name that boxer.
Do you got it, Jeremy?
Yeah, it's Evander Holyfield. Right?
There it is.
Boom.
You guys would have nailed this category. All right, number 9, NBA star, and I'm going to be so upset if Spurs fans don't get this one. NBA star David Robinson was nicknamed the Admiral for his service with what military branch?
Jeremy?
Now, see, this one, I always make sure I don't get him mixed up with Pop's service branch, but the Admiral was in the Navy.
Boom.
There it is. All right, final one, and this one really stumped us here. It was one of those where when they say the answer, you're like, oh, I knew that. When you tell it to me, I knew that. But in having to think of it on our own, didn't happen last night. What is the name of the racing complex where the Kentucky Derby takes place?
Oh, I think I've got it. Jeremy, you have it? I think I got it.
All you. I can't think of it.
I'm going to go
reason.
Churchill Downs.
Yeah.
I know
Yes.
that's one of the Triple Crown. I'm going to go Churchill Downs.
Chris Duel and Jeremy, y'all are the winners of trivia today. 10 for 10. They were pretty easy looking back at them, but at the time when you're under that pressure, when you've just eaten more chicken wings than your body can handle, it's a whole different ball game.
Yes.
I had so much fun last night. Thanks to the trivia master. I wish I'd gotten his name to shout him out. I kind of feel like he might listen to the show just to get some of these ideas, because we did cover a lot of these in recent weeks. So if you are a fan of trivia and sports round trivia, it's all the more reason to check us out each day on the podcast, available anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's the Chris Duel Show. That is the Salty Shakedown for today.
That was fun, Shannon. That was a fun, outstanding Salty Shakedown, and which we may need to incorporate trivia or more trivia into this show. And maybe even, as you mentioned, and it's so true, if you're playing a game in public and people are looking at you and there's a time limit and the buzzer's about to go, there's a lot more pressure and it's not as easy. And when you don't have a lifeline, like I just did with Jeremy, we might have to incorporate like trivia where we bring a listener / viewer on the show and, do some fast trivia with them and, come up with a prize or something. Maybe, Jeremy comes over as a personal chef for them as he is for Mike Gundy's wife, Kristen, and for the kids, Gunnar, Gavin, and Gage. It could be, I don't know, we'll come up with something. That's fun. I like that.
Yeah, it was a good time. Like I said, I enjoy trivia. It is hard, I have a hard time speaking up when I'm not entirely sure of the answer, even though it might end up being right, because I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to come across too confident and then be like, no, I told you it was this other thing. But this category, I think I handled it pretty well with my team. But good job to you too. 10 of 10 today.
Thank you, ma'am. I do see on our live video feed our good friend James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. At the moment, he's on the live video feed. He is going to join us on the show in the very next segment. By the way, if you're new to the show, we do have a live video feed where you not only interact with us live and in real time, but there's all sorts of other sports fans across Texas and around the world that you can interact with live and in real time. Did you see, Shannon? And I know you did because you put it in the show notes. Bruce Arians, and I saw the video, and I don't have the name of the player, but he went old Woody Hayes, and that's a reference from the late 70s, early 80s when Woody Hayes was the head coach at Ohio State, and one of his players was coming off the field, and he grabbed him and choked him. Bruce Arians ran out onto the field and whacked a player on the helmet and threw an elbow to hit him. The NFL apparently going to fine him $50,000, and Bruce Arians going to appeal that fine. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that strike was on safety Andrew Adams. Looking at it, the action itself doesn't seem too egregious. I think it's the fact that he came onto the field to do it, right? It wasn't like they were already standing next to each other. I don't think the NFL is going to drop it, though. I think he's going to have to put up $50K.
Yeah, and again, you're Bruce Arians. I know he doesn't make, Tom Brady money, but come on, man. $50K, that's chump change for Bruce Arians. Who says he will appeal it? That'll be interesting to track. Coming up from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he's also on the selection committee, James Allen. We'll talk about the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the NFL playoffs, and more coming right up. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Yeah, we didn't talk. We've mentioned Gary Patterson. That's a good point, Robert. Mike Taylor being a TCU partisan. How is that going to work? We shall see. All right. I'm going to get some ice for my ice water. Joining us shortly, James Allen, who looks a little bit something like that. All right, Axel, you're not allowed to watch the Spurs at all. Ed Shannon, thank you, Ed. I forgot. I saw it back in the day. I forgot that was an opposing player. He just intercepted a pass or something, as I recall. And again, that was 1979, so my knowledge is, my memory is a little shaky on that.
You don't want to miss out on thousands. Jackson Hewitt knows that. Discover thousands of tax credits and get your biggest refund guaranteed. Learn more at jacksonhewitt.com.
Woo! Woo! I don't know where Snow's Barbecue is, Jason. Jason Paniagua. I'm going to go to Snow's Barbecue. On Saturday morning, the coldest weekend of the year so far. Roger Lopez. Anthony Del Toro says, we used to get smacked with the whistle across the helmet by the coaches growing up. Talk about ears ringing. Robert, we talked about Ron Franklin with Bill Schoening yesterday. He was a big influence on Bill Schoening, and Bill got to be friends with him, and Bill used to have him on his radio show in Austin when Bill was the voice of the Texas Longhorns. So we did, during the Bill Schoening segment yesterday at 8:05, we did talk about Ron Franklin, who passed away, I think, at age 79. James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame going to join us here in a moment. Wow. Jason Paniagua says Snow's Barbecue is in Lexington near Bastrop. It is Texas Monthly's #1 barbecue, or it was at one time. They've got an 89-year-old female pit master. That's pretty amazing. Thank you, Joe Garcia. And I'm glad you're over here with us after listening to me a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away at some other radio station. Yeah, I do want to, I know James Allen closely follows the Cowboys. I want to get some thoughts on the Cowboys' demise from James Allen. See, and I do need, what did I do here with? Whoops. Got 2 there, so now I need... Joe Garcia saying a 2-hour delay for school due to sleet and snow driving from Pueblo to Colorado Springs. Joe, you may or may not know, I talk about it now and then, from 1979 to 1981, I was a cadet at the Air Force Academy just north of Colorado Springs. So I've enjoyed 2 Colorado Springs winters. As Axel J. Miller tells us, it's 19 degrees in Denver this morning. Let's see. I've got some, all right, let's see what I have here. Did I save that? I did save that. So I got to do one more. Okay. I'm editing some audio. That is Jeremy on the phone with James Allen, I do believe. Here we come.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side, yeah.
Now, Chris Duel.
We are talking lots of football as God intended. Although, as we talk football on this Freeze-Mageddon Thursday, January 20th, we had hoped we would be looking forward to a divisional round of the NFL playoffs that included America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, that did not happen. Same as it ever was. Heartbreak, heartache for Cowboys fans as it's been since 1996. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Jeremy KOLOK is your Soundscape stylist. And typically on Thursdays, but as often as we can grab him, we love talking football with our good friend and board member and on the selection committee of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, a Texas Aggie, former football player at Texas A&M, but we forgive him and we still like him anyway. The lovely and talented James Allen. James, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Good morning, Chris, Shannon, and Jeremy. All I got to say about all this Cowboy stuff is to take a Billy Currington's country song. We're a drinking town with a cowboy problem. We love them both, and we don't want to solve them. So
nice.
Here we go.
Well, and James, you sound very good. You sound, last week you've been under the weather. You sounded fine last week, but we could tell you weren't completely recovered. How are you doing right now compared to last week? I know you've been battling some health issues.
Yeah, my oxygen levels are up. I still have 2 oxygen tubes up my nose as we are talking, but we'll see how the tests go on Friday, and hopefully after being in my house or hospitals mostly, and then my house since December 26th, I can get outside. I don't even care how cold it is. I'm ready to get out. But yeah, I'm doing fine. I appreciate it, Chris.
Well, I mean, you're a heck of a trooper. I still had no idea you had oxygen tubes in your nose, and you're still working to get better, and you sound a lot better than last week. So great to hear your voice. We've been bitching, and I've been bitching about the Dallas Cowboys since Monday morning's show. I'm still having a hard time getting over it. To me, James, and you're a football guy, 14 penalties. I mean, so many things we can point at to where the Cowboys blew their opportunities against the San Francisco 49ers. But let's just start with 14 penalties. A lot of those pre-snap penalties and bonehead plays. To me, James, that points to discipline and character and preparation. Your thoughts about the Cowboys and the way they played that football game on Sunday afternoon?
Well, as you know, I even said last week I've been saying it all season long. I didn't think the Cowboys were going to do well, and again, Jerry Jones sits on the board. We're the only Texans on the board, and I love him to death. We kind of have a rule: we don't talk bad about each other. I'll just sum up this. I mean, everybody's pontificate about this. There's an old saying: too many people solve the symptoms and not the disease. And I find in sports that is highly because it's kind of, you got to win now. As Al Davis said, you got to win, just win, baby. But I think the problem is, again, you remember we talked about this, Chris, the locker room culture, salaries, how Jerry handled Elliott, Ezekiel, and how he handled Dak's salaries, and could have saved tons of money and put it elsewhere. Where like a Robert Kraft, Tom Brady says, "Hey, I'll make $10 million while Aaron Rodgers and everybody else and Matty Ice make $40 million. Just give me a line and put the money to other people." And it all starts with culture. The Spurs did that under the Holtz, Peter, and I know they're divorced now, and his wife, and under Pop, about culture. And the culture, and no offense to Shannon and University of Texas and people that are in that locker room, and you got the border regions, and they keep firing new coaches. The problem is up top, and even Jerry, he finally apologized about Jimmy Johnson at the Hall of Fame thing. He still hasn't put him in the Ring of Honor. And Jerry is not a general manager. He has shown he's not a general manager. And you can put every coach, you can put any coach you want in there. You had Bill Parcells, who turned so many teams around, the Browns, the Jets, and he was turning the Cowboys around, and Jerry said, "Out, you're out." So I think that there was a trend a couple years ago where people were finally tired of Jerry, and he said, okay, if we don't make the playoffs, I'll step down. But really the control is the fans. And I guess the best example I could give without over pontificating this is if you have a restaurant and you bring the top chef in and it's great and he wins all your awards, which no one has ever fired a coach after Super Bowl wins, but you fire the chef and then you bring in a makeshift chef to staff, and after a while everybody leaves and you keep making this owner, you keep showing up at the restaurant hoping it's going to have better food. Why would Jerry change? He's made it the richest team in the NFL, and he's not the richest owner. He's made everything there, and people keep showing up. So, like I said, we're a drinking town with a Cowboys problem, and we really don't want to solve them. And I'm not saying boycott the Cowboys, although my mother, who's listening right now, has been, I watched the Cowboys since the 70s. That's what we did. And she said 2 years ago, I'm just tired. Of course, she has a lot of inside information through me. She says, I'm just not going to watch it anymore. So the problem starts at top. Yeah, it's not Mike McCarthy. There's a lack of discipline. You saw what he did, what Jerry did with T.O. He's always brought in the cancer people, the running joke with team general managers. Oh, we'll give them the Cowboys. he's a great person, but he's a terrible locker room person. And I cannot stress enough the culture of the finances, the culture of discipline, and having an owner. I mean, let me ask you this question. I don't want to get into trivia, but who owns consistent teams? Who owns the 49ers? Most people don't know. It's Denise Short. Who owns the Buccaneers? It's the Glazer family.
Mm-hmm.
Who owns the Chief? Clark Hunt. Most of it, you go Robert Kraft only because he's been with several controversies. But you don't even know he owns the Patriots. The problem is every time there's a win or loss, there's Jerry in front of the cameras, and then there's Jerry in the locker room. And you can't run a team as a professional coach and a general manager with the owner always doing stuff. And again, I've never said anything bad about University of Texas. Heck, I was going to go there to the last minute, as Shannon knows, but they're having the same problem in the locker room. So it goes out to culture. You can talk about this. You can bring in the greatest coach in the world, but you got away from offensive linemen, everything else. And, all I can tell you is it's about culture. And Jerry's not going to step down until he passes away. And then we'll just go from there. So until the Cowboys fans say, we're just not going to watch it, which is not going to happen. I mean, what did Jerry tell me? He sells more shirts, more paraphernalia south of Dallas than in Dallas and the rest of the country, and then even San Antonio down to Mexico.
Yeah.
His stuff. So his following is, and I'll tell you one last thing, not to tell on Jerry, but Red McCombs, I happened to be in his office. He actually dismissed me because he had Staubach and some owners, because Jerry was Red had made a bid for the franchise that obviously went to two different places. I mean, Charlotte, just went to smaller programs. San Antonio didn't even make it out of the first round, and Tulsa, Oklahoma did.
Mm.
And that's the control that Jerry had through Al Davis. And again, I don't want to get into all that stuff. All I want to say, my good friend on the board, he's not a general manager, and people keep showing up at his restaurant, and he keeps getting richer, and he doesn't make the food any better, and he keeps making extremely bad decisions personnel wise. So that's my long take on the Cowboys, and I guess we can move on to the AKA Jim Mora playoffs, and we can go from there. But that's my take. Playoffs. So I can't say it like that right now, or I'll start coughing. But anyway, that's it. I think one other tangent is kind of funny. You and I become Tom Brady fans late in life.
Yes.
After we did at Tampa Bay. I was talking to some Hall of Fame guys. We had the selection meeting on Tuesday. Somebody pointed out that Tom Brady is older than most of the coaches, and then the playoffs, except for Bruce Arian, Andy Reid, and I think Sean McDermott. I think the Bills 47. That's pretty amazing for him. And then another person made a joke about the Cowboys and says that Alabama has more playoff wins in the AT&T Center than the Cowboys do. So that's those are little pageantry, little jokes that came out of the Hall of Fame meeting on Tuesday.
So, James, outwardly, clearly, you're not a fan of the current Dallas Cowboys situation, not a believer that they could reach a Super Bowl anytime soon. But I know inwardly, I know your heart, James. I know that, like the rest of us Cowboys fans, you're a little delusional, and there's always that hope there, no matter what. But given that they are now out of the playoffs, I wanted to ask you personally, as a friend, if you would join me as part of Bill's Mafia, as the team to watch, the team to support throughout the rest of the playoffs. They kicked it against, they just nailed it against the Patriots. I think if they have that similar game plan, there's no stopping them, even when they go up against that Chiefs and that offense this weekend. But can I persuade you to join Bill's Mafia for the rest of this playoff venture we're in now?
I absolutely, looking at all the people, the teams, I have to stay very neutral, but I will join. I know that the Wilsons don't own it anymore, but Ralph Wilson was a great friend of the Hall. His widow, Mary Wilson, really didn't want to sell the team, but Ralph Wilson started the Bills. I'm a huge fan of that. I'm a huge fan for that size of a town doing that. I'm all about pageantry. So I will absolutely, and I'm sure some people out there listening on Facebook, some Hall of Fame people are going to laugh, but I will join the Bills Mafia through the playoffs. And again, I don't have any delusions about the Cowboys going to the playoffs or Super Bowls, as I have said on this thing, until you take care of you get a general manager. So I will join the Bills Mafia. I know the Wilsons don't own anymore, but I'm a huge fan of, especially in that town. It would be great. And candidly, the game against the Chiefs is really the AFC Championship to me. I think both those teams will handle the Bengals or Titans. I know the Titans, since Derrick Henry is going to be is a favorite by it because he's coming back, but I do think the Bills and Chiefs will determine who's going to the Super Bowl from the AFC, in my opinion. So I will join the Bills Mafia.
He is James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, talking NFL and talking playoffs. And James, I got to ask you, and again, as we've talked with you, you are recovering from some health issues. And I know in a normal year, you go to the Super Bowl, as do many of your fellow board members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And Super Bowl week is a big deal, as the next class is always announced, the weekend before the Super Bowl. What is your status on SoFi Stadium and the Super Bowl? Do you still hope to personally attend the Super Bowl coming up?
Yeah, the Hall of Fame asked me that, if I'm going to attend. Obviously, I'll be done, with my health issues, hopefully by Super Bowl. But I've already put in my card that, yes, I'm attending. I think also, as you know, being the first time member of the selection committee, even Jerry's not on that, and Jerry's on everything. I really feel like I should be there. And obviously, I'm not going to get into the whole vaccination thing, and I was vaccinated and everything else. But according to my doctors, after everything I've been through, I'm relatively bulletproof. So, yeah, I'm actually, as of yesterday, I'm going to be attending several events and signed up and it said that I will be attending. So I will be there.
Cool.
James, we will
I'll
pause.
tell you what, Shannon, I know that you're tight with the money. If the Bills go to the Super Bowl, whether they win or lose, I'll try to bring you a shirt back.
Oh, yes, that'd be amazing.
I took Chris and The Rock to the Hall of Fame. Steve, a.k.a. Polar Bear, The Rock went with me and Chris to the Hall of Fame last year. So if the Bills go to the Super Bowl, whether they win or lose, I'll bring you a shirt back.
Yay!
We'll discuss that off the record.
You the best, James. We're going to pause real quick because, I might be tight with money, but the winner of this $1,000 cash that we give away every hour on the Chris Duel Show and throughout the day on Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone, all you got to do is listen for this keyword. Head over to either Ticket 760 or AM 1300 The Zone's websites, or both if you want to double your chances, and enter this keyword that you hear right now.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Green. That's green. Enter it on our station website now.
The keyword for the 8 o'clock hour is green. Again, head over to both of the station websites. Go ahead and enter that keyword for your shot at $1,000. James, we found out now you're going to the Super Bowl. You mentioned earlier in the show that you just had your meeting for the Hall of Fame class of 2022. Those names will be announced on February 10th at the NFL Honors. Have you ever been to this event? Do you plan on going to the one this year? And what is that like? I mean, because you literally have the best of that year's players in the rooms, and then at the same time, you're announcing the next round of Hall of Famers. The guys that are sitting there in that moment are looking to be in the future.
Yeah, I've been to it a couple of times, just due to my conflict and schedule and different things I have to attend. It's the only reason I haven't been every time. Not obviously, but because I'm on the selection committee, of course, I will be there as well. So yes, I will. I've been there, and it's amazing, Shannon. Everything you just said, I couldn't really add to it. It's amazing to be there, and obviously I know a lot of these guys, and then the new guys coming in, and it's like I said, it's a life-changing moment. I mean, obviously, our former president CEO, David Baker, shows up at 6'8", 6'9", 400 pounds, and shows up and knocks on your door like a thundering knock. It's emotional to bring those guys on stage. So, yeah, I will be there, obviously. And it's one of the top things that I like doing there.
Now, James, you just documented with Shannon that you will, be an honorary member with Shannon of Bills Mafia now that the Dallas Cowboys are done. Looking at the remaining field, And you just said, and I tend to agree with you, although my sentimental pick, I'd love to see Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals continue to make some noise in the playoffs. Cincinnati has been so long suffering. They got their first playoff win last year in 31 years. So that fan base has certainly been through it. They probably feel a lot like Dallas Cowboys fans have felt since 1996. But as you look at the NFC side, James, obviously the road to the Super Bowl goes through Lambeau Field. And suddenly the San Francisco 49ers, they beat the Rams in a must-win game, final day of the regular season on the road at SoFi. They go to Dallas and they win on the road. I think their biggest test, I mean, to me, there is no more formidable home field advantage than Lambeau Field in the wintertime. And the Packers have that, and they've got Aaron Rodgers, who, is an elite top 3 quarterback in the NFL. Who do you see coming out of the NFC? You mentioned Tom Brady. You and I have an appreciation, and they are the defending Super Bowl champions. Who do you like in the NFC at this moment heading into the divisional round?
Well, I really think the key matchup is the Rams versus Buccaneers for the Super Bowl, like I think for Bills and them. Look, Aaron, sometimes when he gets a lot of pressure, he gets frustrated and sometimes gets a little things, but I just think, and that 49ers defense, if you remember a while back when I said against the Chiefs, I mean, you can't go against that 49 defense. The problem is, and we've talked about this going into playoffs, is that injuries. And the 49ers defense is really banged up after that Cowboys game. And I really think if it wasn't for that, those guys can get to Aaron and frustrate him. I think the Packers are going in, I mean, there's those things for sure, but they should go in relatively easy. The game that fascinates me is the Rams versus Buccaneers. We've talked about the injuries. Antonio Brown is gone, obviously due to the running joke is mental issues, but Antonio Brown's gone. But Chris Godwin is out. And remember, Tom Brady's favorite lineman, the O-line, is Tristan Wirfs. Tristan Wirfs is out. And that Rams defense with future Hall of Famer, and yes, I said that, Donaldson, and, you've got I always say you have to be the man to beat the man when it comes to Tom Brady. And I know that Vegas has got him, up 3 points, but I'm going to say, and I'm not a sports predictor, but I think the Rams, the Tampa Bay is going in limping, but I still think it's going to be Tampa Bay and Packers. And if they can get Christian back and get Chris Godwin back, I still think the Buccaneers can beat the Packers. And the Bills will probably face, although I'm a big fan of Joe Burrow. And by the way, if Joe Burrow, remember the Bengals defense is also really banged up.
Okay.
And Joe Burrow will have to throw a lot. And if he can get that done, remember, Titans are really kind of one-dimensional. I mean, there's someone like the 49ers. They have a very simple offense, and they run it well. I mean, the Cowboys abandoned the run. Henry's going to get the ball and just bang away. But if Burrow can get, 7-10 points up, you can't really play that. But, again, because of the Bengals' injuries, Joe maybe have to play from behind. So I'm going to go against my gut and pick the Titans, and I think between them, the Bills will beat the Titans. And I think it'll be the Bills. It'll be the Bills and the winner of the Rams-Buccaneers game, but I'm going to go with Tom until you beat him. So it'll be the Buccaneers and Bills.
Wow, that would be a tremendous Super Bowl. Josh Allen versus Tom Brady, the new young gunslinger versus the GOAT. We shall see, and as we get closer, we'll continue to talk about it. James Allen on the board of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. James, we're so happy you're feeling better, man. Just get better every day. Have a great football weekend. Enjoy the divisional round coming up Saturday and Sunday, and we'll talk again next week.
Well, thank you guys, and shout out to Mom and Dad, and thank you for the health wishes, and I appreciate you and Shannon and Jeremy very much.
Thanks so much, James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. As we roll forward from El Paso, Texas this morning, Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA Athletics. We'll talk college sports And we'll talk more NFL playoffs. And with Andy, sometimes we get into golf even. He's our golf guru. All kinds of topics on the table coming up with Andy Everett. Don't go anywhere. Jeremy KOLOK making the show go. She's Shannon, Salty Sweeney. I'm Chris. Till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. All right, let me see here. Let's see. Ram Gotti says, hopefully Spurs Sports and Entertainment will create a pro sports headquarter hub here, bring the NFL, NBL, MLS, and other pro sports for San Antonio, Austin, Metroplex. So that would be nice. Thank you, Anthony Del Toro, Robert Armstrong. Yeah, I don't, he's picking the Bills, as is Shannon, but we will see. I mean, the Chiefs, Mahomes at Arrowhead, although the Bills looked unstoppable in their playoff game against the Patriots, we shall see how that all turns out for them. All right, here. I'm going to grab some beverage for my final segment. Give you a little Tom Landry on a Throwback Thursday. Can't get enough Tom Landry, in my opinion. Back in a sec. Woo! Woo!
It changed my life. I used to spend a ridiculous amount of time trying to remove tomato sauce from inside our microwave and soap scum off the bathtub. It's like seriously magic, and my secret weapon for cleaning the kitchen, bathroom, doors, and walls, and even keeping my sneakers clean. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, greatest invention ever. Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, the unicorn of cleaning.
Always a glare issue there that I got to contend with. Wes Perkins, San Francisco and Tampa Bay in the NFC Championship. If San Francisco didn't have the injury, the Nick Bosa injury, Wagner, the linebacker, and Garoppolo. So the rule of thumb, and you're counting on Garoppolo for the second straight week to violate the rule that often works, which is the better quarterback typically wins. So Aaron Rodgers, to me, an infinitely better quarterback, and at Lambeau, I don't know, man. I tend to believe the Packers are going to beat the 49ers, but the 49ers are peaking at the right time. They seem to be a team of destiny. So it wouldn't shock me, but I would certainly pick UTSA UTEP tonight. So Andy is in El Paso. Going to join us here in a second. Rams, Packers. See, I'm going to go. Marcus Valdespino says Rams, Packers. I'm going Buccaneers, Packers. But I could change my mind. We'll make our picks tomorrow. Get my Andy Everett photo, as Andy's going to join us. Check the El Paso weather. If I have time, which I may or may not. $33 degrees in El Paso at the moment. It'll get down to 24 tonight. Woo! Yeah, Wes, we'll see. I don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of I don't necessarily think it's pressure on Green Bay. I think they're angry. They've been to 2 NFC championship games. They should have won that NFC championship a year ago against Tampa. They've been rested. It's their house. They're home cooking. They're sleeping in their beds. Rodgers is having a great year. Defensive injuries for the 49ers. Garoppolo at quarterback. I got to go Packers. But I admire your pick, and if you're right, we certainly have to give you props. Anthony Del Toro says the Packers will be at full strength this weekend.
Back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney.
It was a beautiful day.
Running down a dream. Little Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Well played. Jeremy KOLOK is your Soundscape stylist. The pride of Oklahoma State University. Telling us tales about the Gundy siblings. Gunner, Gavin, and Gage. Welcome in. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Direct and live this morning from El Paso, Texas, where it is a tropical, cloudy, and 33 degrees this morning in El Paso. He will have the call tonight as the UTSA Roadrunners men's basketball team is in El Paso to take on UTEP, 8 o'clock tonight at the Don Haskins Center. Pregame 7:30 on Ticket 760. Andy Everett, how are you doing this morning?
Ready to roll. I haven't been outside yet in El Paso, but I'm sure it's nice and cool here.
Yeah, I hear El Paso is lovely this time of year. So you didn't go out.
I don't know that El Paso and lovely are ever synonymous terms.
Before we talk a little UTSA basketball, I know, like Shannon, like me, like James Allen, who we just spoke with from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you, sir, follow the Dallas Cowboys. You pay close attention to the Dallas Cowboys. This is our first time talking with you since Sunday's debacle and shocker, another early exit from the tournament by the Dallas Cowboys. Your thoughts on that game, and specifically Mike McCarthy yesterday still defending his call with 14 seconds to play. Dak, run down there, get the first down and see if you can get the ball to the official before the clock runs out. How did you feel about it?
Well, first of all, I thought the Cowboys were lethargic to start the game when they let San Francisco take the opening drive and score. And after midway through the first quarter, I said they didn't show up today. And it was one of those things where this was not going to be their day. And then San Francisco basically quit playing and let them back in it. And they woke up and had a decent second half. I'm okay with that call if you have a timeout. And listen, I've never called football plays in my life. I'm not a coach, don't profess to be one, don't want to be one. But I think that would have been a really good call if you have a timeout. But the mistake that Dak made was not the play. It was not going down sooner, because he's got to have I'm sure he can see a clock as he's running down the field. It's right there in front of him. He's got to start that slide with 8 seconds so that the officials have time to spot the ball, not with 4, because by that time it's too late. And so if you're trying to get extra yards to have a better, decent throw to the end zone on the last play or last 2 plays, perhaps, you need to get set a lot sooner than that they did. So you can blame the play call, you can blame the execution of the play call, but overall the Dallas Cowboys were a lethargic team from the beginning on Sunday. And as soon as they didn't score right after San Francisco scored, I was like, this is going to be a bad day for them, and it was.
A bad day indeed, and a day that Cowboys fans, for whatever reason, we continue to relive it. And we might do that until the start of next season. Andy, you are, of course, in El Paso for the UTSA men's basketball game against the Niners. UTSA currently 0-5 in Conference USA. What's the chances that they have going up against these Miners?
Well, if you thought the last few weeks were bad, it's worse this week, because UTSA only has 6 scholarship players, and 2 walk-ons on the trip with them. They have been hit by injuries, by other attrition. They have 2 players in health and safety protocol. And so what has been a difficult season tends to get worse when you don't have your full strength. We knew that it was going to be really difficult from a year ago to replace the likes of the 2 top scorers in the history of the program, Javon Jackson and Keaton Wallace. And it's proven to be that way. And they've had their moments. And I thought in mid-December they were really starting to kind of figure it out. And then they've had one player out with grades. They've had another player who decided he just didn't want to play here anymore, and his future is still kind of up in the air. They've had several players come in and out of the health and safety protocols over the last 3 weeks. And as I said, tonight they've got 8 players, and 2 of them are walk-ons. So we'll see how they play. I know they'll play hard, and I know Steve will have them ready. And this team doesn't back down, and they're not interested in moral victories. And they did not play well a week ago tonight at Old Dominion, and they played better against Charlotte. But when you don't have all your weapons, it's sometimes not a fair fight. And UTSA goes into this game tonight with a lot of players missing.
Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA athletics. And Andy, as you mentioned, last season, Javon Jackson, Keaton Wallace, such prolific, phenomenal players for UTSA. And I mean, any program that had those guys, they would be tough to replace. As you mentioned, not only is it tough to replace them, but you mentioned all of the personnel issues that UTSA is going through. We talk a lot about the transfer portal in football and how it has really changed football, certainly at the quarterback position, but at all positions. As Steve Henson, the head coach of UTSA, looks to elevate this program, is that something? Is it having an impact on college basketball the way it is on college football? And is that maybe a tool, a strategy that Steve Henson and UTSA might look at moving forward?
Well, I think the rule that the NCAA changed this past couple of years to where the athlete does not have to sit out a year if they choose to transfer is one of the most ridiculous rules. Now, it helps the players, and I understand that. And I think I would be okay if you want to do that if your coach is fired or leaves, like what's going on with OU right now. The players that went to OU went there for Lincoln Riley. Now they want to go to USC because that's where Lincoln Riley is. I understand that. But this idea that I'm not getting enough playing time or I'm not getting enough minutes or I don't want to compete, I'm going to go transfer someplace else. And it tends to be that player tends to transfer several times after that. I don't like the fact that they get to sit out without any kind of repercussion, because I know that after their sophomore years, Javon and Keaton they weren't courted directly by teams, but the grapevine was out there. Hey, go to Baylor, go to OU, go to OSU. You can go play on the Big 12 schedule, put your name in the portal. But back then, you had to sit out a year. And none of those players wanted to skip a year of basketball. I mean, they lived for that season of games, and that from March to November is 8 months that you don't play games. And then you play 32 games plus your tournaments from November 10th thereabouts to March 15th or so. So you don't want to sit out a whole year. Players who are injured don't want to sit out a whole year, and sometimes they have to. So I think that deterred a lot of people from leaving. And my fear for schools like UTSA and American Conference schools and all these smaller non-Power 5 conferences is that you're going to find that diamond in the rough player. You're going to find a player that's really good, and you're going to have to re-recruit him every single year, because now he can leave and go wherever he wants, whenever he wants, without any repercussion. It's a lot of that. I think it's not fair for the smaller schools. The capitalist in me says, hey, that's the way the world goes. You can always leave your job and go someplace that's better. And so there's kind of a two-edged sword there, if you will. But I would like to see that rule be rescinded a little bit or modified a little bit more. I'm just sure the NCAA and other conferences don't want to fight lawsuits should players ever challenge it.
Andy, I am, of course, in Austin at the iHeartRadio studios that are now located on 360 right next to the Pennybacker Bridge. And just across the highway is, of course, Austin Country Club, where they're going to be taking place. They're actually already setting up the grandstands and all of the things involved for the Dell Technologies match play that will be in March. It's super exciting stuff. It's crazy to me that they get started in January for an event that is in March. I mean, it definitely comes down a lot quicker than it goes up. But any plans for you to get out here? Because to me, it's a great tournament, a great location, and for the most part, weather has been pretty good to us out here for those match days.
Yeah, I've been up there for the event, I think three times in the years that it was, maybe twice, to go up there and watch. There was a media event at Austin Country Club once or twice. I love the golf course. It's a fantastic golf course. I think it's one of the, from all the golf courses I've played in Texas, it's definitely in my top 5 Texas golf courses. And I think it's a great match play course because the back nine gives you so many options. Now, the members play it the opposite way. That 12th hole with the Pennybacker Bridge is in the tournament is really the 3rd hole for the members. But it's still a great golf course, and I always look forward to it. And it's always the week before the Valero Texas Open. So those that get knocked out early then come to San Antonio and start getting prepped for the VTO, which is just a few weeks away as well. I think we're under 80 days now till the tournament, maybe even getting closer to 70. So a lot of golf in South Texas coming up very quickly.
Andy, we're getting a question for you on the live video feed, and it's a UTSA football question. It's from Leo Zambrano, who says, should Coach Jeff Traylor look to the transfer portal to find a starting quarterback for UTSA? Now, I realize Jeff Traylor might be happy with the UTSA quarterbacks he has, but I was talking to Shannon earlier today. You got a guy like JT Daniels, who started a few games at Georgia this year, started his career at USC, but is unhappy now that Stetson Bennett is the starting quarterback at Georgia. He wants to go somewhere else. Do you think that's something that Jeff Traylor, even if he's happy with a position such as quarterback, if he sees a guy out there in the transfer portal who he thinks might be an upgrade, do you think that's something he would look at?
Well, I think for now, the quarterback of this team is Frank Harris, unless Bryce Young decides to transfer to UTSA or something like that. And I don't Caleb Williams could come; that would be fine too. But I think the quarterback is Frank Harris. But you're always looking to the future, and Frank has been very fortunate the last couple of years to stay healthy, and hopefully he still does. And I think he's not only the quarterback of this team; he's the emotional leader of this team. But yes, I guarantee you he has staff that are looking at that transfer portal at every position every day, because there's only about 1,000 players in it, and not only can not one person do it, I think the entire staff is looking at it. The quarterback potentially of the future for UTSA is Eddie Lee Marbury, and he'll be somebody that I think UTSA fans are really going to like. And here's the other rub too: you can go out and get a player in the transfer portal, and if that player ends up starting, then you may lose somebody that you've already kind of not necessarily promised, but wanted to be able to get in the games. And I think there's going to be a concerted effort next year to get Eddie Lee in as many games as possible. And I think fans will really start to gravitate towards him because he's the quarterback of the future for now. Obviously, if a star player wants to go to UTSA, you take a shot at him. But I think that quarterback spot's something that is pretty solid for UTSA. And I don't know that Daniels or another quarterback would help you win more games than Frank Harris will with the competition that you're going to play next year. And so I would say that on opening day, if he's healthy, Frank Harris is the quarterback, and Eddie Lee's going to play a lot, as much as possible next year. And then if there's somebody that shows up in that portal down the road that can help them at any position, UTSA will take a run at them.
He is Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA Athletics. He will have the call tonight from the Don Haskins Center in El Paso as the UTSA Roadrunners men's basketball team takes on UTEP. Tip-off just after 8 o'clock, pregame 7:30 on Ticket 760 out of San Antonio. If you're outside San Antonio, you can catch that on the iHeart Radio app. Andy Everett, enjoy El Paso. Have a great call tonight. We will be listening. Thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
All right. See you guys soon.
Andy Everett, voice of UTSA Athletics. Shannon Salty Sweeney, great fun this morning. Great trivia challenge on the Salty Shakedown. We'll do this again in 21 hours.
Yeah, well, great job on
Stay
the trivia.
warm.
To you and Jeremy. We'll do it again.
Woo! That was fun. We got to do more trivia on this show. That was a kick. Jeremy, I think you're gone tomorrow. You've got your duties as a personal chef for Kristen Gundy tomorrow.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
We will see you next week, perhaps.
Yes, sir.
Our thanks as well to James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's still with us right now on the live video feed. Stay warm, everybody. It's going to be even colder tomorrow morning, but we will guzzle lots of coffee and hot chocolate, and we'll get through it. See you mañana. Adios, amigos. All right, y'all. James Allen, adios. Thanks for being here, James. Great segment. Yeah, I would love to get David Baker on this show. Oh, by the way. So, yes. Here's Mr. James Allen, suitable for framing. You know him, you love him, you can't get enough of him. All right, everybody. 12 people in here. To all of you 12, farewell. Pablo, Luisa, Leo, Robert, Beth, Neff Ozuna, Wes, Marcus Valdespino. Farewell, everybody. We will see you next time. Woo! There I am. See you later. Go Spurs.